Good afternoon, everybody, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button and feel free to leave comments. Today we're going to go over two 5-minute games where it looks like I had two brilliant moves against me, but it still couldn't stop me. It's like, brilliant moves can't seem to stop me, so I'm going to leave it like that. So let's jump right into it, and we're going to go over this game here where I'm playing a 1900 Elo rated player. And I'm on my way to 2,000, folks, so we'll get there. And you guys will be with me along the journey. So let's just get started on this game here. And when you get into the 1900, once again, guys, these moves are tough. But what I've noticed about 1900 players is that they usually try to go for some kind of trick. So be aware of tricks when you get up to 1900. Be aware of tricks altogether, but just know to be on the lookout for those when you get up to higher ranking players. Alright, so let's go. So I played black and didn't have that much of a high percentage accuracy, but as you can see, the game is pretty cool, so we'll see. Game started off with white playing c4. I went ahead and copied his move with c5. White played knight c3. I played knight c6. That's all book standard moves. Trying to finchetti my bishop there. He played e4. I'm playing g6. Played knight e2. I'm going to play bishop g7 to finchetti my bishop. Finchetti my bishop. Because we're trying to fight for this square here. So he doesn't push the pawn. He should have. He moves h3. I move up to e6 to stop any counterplay with this knight here from him bringing out this knight and trying to double him back up like that. So game continues. He plays a3. I play a6 because I didn't want his knight to have any square to go to. I'm just trying to shut it all down. White didn't like it, said it was inaccurate, but it still looks like a good move to me. I'm comfortable. He moves his rook over to b1, probably because he sees my bishop eyeing this diagonal, so he wanted to get off that diagonal, probably try to get some pawn action with pawn pushing the pawn. And I proceeded to develop my knight to knight e7 to prepare the castle. He moves his queen out. He's trying to put pressure on this pawn here, but it just looks like he's getting his queen out of the way here because his queen now doesn't have that much effect on this centerpiece right here. So I attacked it. It says it was inaccurate, but I like the move. Says I should have just went ahead and canceled, but I wanted to put pressure on that queen and kind of get him to trade off some of his knights there. He took. I take with the bishop. Said I should have took with the pawn, but I still felt it was a good move nonetheless. He moved his pawn up to d3. I castled. So he wants to trade bishops. I'm like, okay, because I'm going to give him the double pawn. And it looks like it's my advantage. All of his pieces are over here on the queen side and where there's no action, so I don't feel any threat. So I took the pawn. He takes back. Move my knight out to c6. He moves his king to d2. Big mistake. Even though I seen that he wanted to get this rook over some. This rook doesn't have any plays, but I don't know, maybe he felt like he didn't want to castle because it would have took too many moves to get the bishop out, and I would have been up and had a chance to attack this pawn here. He wanted to protect this pawn with this king, so that was what his job was. And he didn't do a good job at it. So I moved my queen over here to h4 to put pressure on this piece here to get the check, and also eventually go after this pawn here if I can eventually get my knight into the game. He moves his rook up here because he was fear of the check. He moves his rook to e1. Move my queen to g3. He moves his queen to d1. I move my knight to e5. As you can see, it's saying that I'm missing a lot of great moves here, but like I'm saying, I'm playing a human being, so when the pressure is on, and it's really not a lot of pressure because as you can see, we're moving pretty quickly. My time is this is a 5-minute game, and we haven't even been spending that much time on the moves, but it looks like he should have been, and so should have I, but I have the advantage as you can see from the eval bar. So he tries to threaten my queen, but now I have this move here, which says was the best move. I pin the knight up against the king, and now he really has no more good moves. He has no action going on this side of the board, and this is a 1900 player, folks. So if you feel any doubt, like, oh man, you're never going to reach 1900, 1800, hey, listen, people make the same mistakes at 1900 that they do at 1200, whatever rank, whatever elo you are on chess.com or in real life. People are going to make mistakes, folks. So don't be afraid of a high-rated player. Alright, so he moves to rook g1, trying to move up his pawn here, but he's unaware that he can't even move his bishop out of the way. You know what I mean? Everything is stuck. So I'm moving my rook here because I'm trying to attack this area here to try to put some pressure on the d3 pawn. He doesn't notice it, and I appreciate it. And he also didn't notice that this knight had the triple fork, and I laid it on him. Hit him with the triple fork. Now he's probably losing his mind. Moves out of the way, and I was thinking, I said, you know, I could take this rook here with my knight. I could take this rook with my knight. I can take this pawn and still be able to get a knight afterward, because if he moves his knight, my queen can come with the check and still be able to get a nice position here by taking one of the rooks. But I decided in the game to take the pawn, and he resigned. And that game was over, and there was another 1900 player down the drain, and no more step closer to 2000 for me. So let's go ahead and review the next game. Like I said, I had 2 good games back to back. I've been playing kind of frequently here. So let's go over this game. This game wasn't really a lot of moves, and but a lot happened. So let's go over the game here. Game review. Says that my accuracy was 90%. I like that. I had 1 blunder, so let's see where it is. And as you can see, he had a brilliant move, and it didn't work. So let's go over it. So, did my usual open with queen d4. He plays queen d5. I play c4. He plays e6. Queen's Gambit declined. And so I went ahead and took the pawn like I always do on d5. He takes back. I move my knight out. I don't move the pawn up on e6. I mean on e3 because of the bishop here coming down to pin the knight. So to prevent that, I went ahead and moved the knight now. He moves his knight to f6. I move my pawn up to a3 because I don't want the bishop coming down here to check my king and him having this diagonal on my king. So I just want to prevent it. It may seem like a weak move, but hey, it's a strong play to prevent anything from happening in the beginning of the game. Alright, he moves his bishop down there on g4 to attack the knight, even though it's not pinned, so I'm going to move it right out of the way. Move the knight to e5. He attacks the knight with bishop d6. Says he should have moved his knight back. But, you know, I like taking the bishop for a knight, and that's what I did there. Says it was a great move. He takes back with his knight, and I wanted to kick his knight, but it was a big blunder. Says that I went ahead and should have moved my pawn up to e4, attacking the knight and also threatening its getaway square, because if it did try to get away back to its original square, then I would have been able to move my pawn up and fork the knight and the bishop, and he can only move back here, which is a terrible play because I will take his knight, and then he would have double pawns with his castling structure just dismantled. So yep, for future reference, just know that that's a possibility, and don't make the mistake that I made here. And this is a 1900 player, guys. Like I said, they make mistakes. So he goes back to his original square. Move my knight out to c3. He moves his pawn up to c6. I move my bishop up to g3 so I can pinch hitting my bishop and get my castle going. He castles. I move my bishop up to g2. He moves his rook over to e8. I castle. He moves his knight out to d7. looks pretty normal, folks. You know, the eval bar has it even, and I feel I have the advantage. Move my rook over to e1. He moves his knight out to b6. Why did he do that? Taking away the pressure of the center pieces here. He's trying to come over here, and it feels like, so I prevent that by moving up to b3. Says that I should have pinned his knight, but I didn't feel like pinning anything because, once again, I didn't want him to try to trace my bishop away, and then I'm just running back away. And yeah, it's going to mess up his pawn structure on the king side, but I wasn't really going for that. So he doubles up his queen and bishop into a battery here, but, you know, it's protected by the pawn, and I don't see my pawn going anywhere. Looks like he wants to sacrifice his bishop, but once again, I have this bishop here that can stop the check from the queen if he does that. So I just didn't really feel like he thought that move through. And once again, like I said, we're both, well, I didn't say, but we have a lot of time on the clock because we're both moving fast, so he should have thought that one through. This is a 1900 player again. And I moved up to e4, threatening to pin the bishop and the knight. He sees it, he takes. I take with my knight. He takes with his knight. I take with my bishop. And he takes with his bishop, the g3 pawn. Now, says he made a brilliant move. Clever tactic. And I said, all right, well, show me. Make me a believer. I take back with my pawn. He comes back with the check. Looks like he wants me to try to block it with the bishop now so he can take my pawn here. I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Alright, so I move my king over one, let him have the pawn, just so I can be able to get some more counterplay here. He takes, then I move my bishop back here. Now what's he going to do? He's out of checks. Well, if he does try to check, I can just develop. You know, and I'm still good because now I'm up a power piece. Even though my whole king side is dismantled, I still feel comfortable. I mean, he doesn't really know what to do. So, move my king over one. He comes down, takes my rook, and he moves his rook over to d8. I move my bishop out, Finchetti'd it on b2. Eyeing this pawn here. So try to see if I can get some kind of counterplay, maybe move my queen out here. Hopefully I can get my queen out here to try to threaten checkmate there. He moves his pawn up to h6, just to eliminate any back rate mates. It's a good idea. So I'm like, you know what, let's just trade. I'm already up a power piece, and he's going to have to make me a believer to try to win this game because I do got a powerful rook. And he's got a knight, but it doesn't look that active. It's way over there. So he doesn't want to trade queens because like he's down material in his eyes. He doesn't really see the advantage of my whole king side being down and his three pawns that can just march up the board. Maybe he feels like he needs his queen. So I'm going to take advantage of his fear. I'm going to threaten this rook, move my queen to e7, and big mistake. He should have went ahead and tried to protect this pawn here because that's really what I was going after. I was going to, even if he did move his rook over there, I was going to move my rook over some, put more pressure on that pawn, and eventually try to win this whole area, win my pawns back. Check. Now my bishop is coming with the check again. And it says he should have moved his pawn up twice to block my bishop, but he forgot that I made him fall for the banana in the tailpipe with this move here. Threatening checkmate, didn't know what to do, so I'm like, let me make him a believer, and there he goes, he resigns. And like I said, you know, I'm not the best player, but I can come up with some scenarios to put my opponent under pressure to make them make a mistake. And being that this guy is 1900 rated, and I'm getting into the level of playing people who are close to 2000 where they really don't make these kind of mistakes, folks. But you got to remember, everybody is human and they make mistakes. But let me know how you feel in the comments about how my opening strategy is with white and with black. But, you know, I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and catch me on the road to 2000.